Good morning, Meshach. It is Thursday, March 2nd, and every once in a while, my grandmother watches these videos. She's not our most avid supporter. I'm not entirely convinced that she knows how to use YouTube, or that she's subscribed, or even knows what that means. But sometimes my mom sends them to her, sometimes they're on Facebook, and she clicks the Facebook link, and she saw last week's video. And after she saw that video, she sent me like 3 pages of texts telling me all about how so very concerned she was about me and how, I need to pick myself up and blah, blah, blah. I am making this video because that was not the intention of my last video. And it is almost never my intention with videos. So to answer the question that is likely in the thumbnail or in the, title of this video, no, I'm not depressed. I'm not even a little bit depressed. Big letters, no. But I see why some people might take it that way. I think there's this idea that we should only post happy or upbeat content online. And when you don't do that, you've kind of violated some social norm, and that social norm is perceived as I don't know, a cry for help or something, or I don't know. I made that video last week because I thought it was cool, because I wanted to test out kind of a more cinematic format and see what I could do with that, because I found some cool music online and I wanted to be able to use those things, and because I thought, and I think a lot of people got this message, but I think some people didn't, that I was making an uplifting message. Books belong to their readers and videos belong to their viewers. But my intention for that video was to inspire people to create, and especially to create in place of wallowing in sadness and your depression den where everything's a mess. The whole idea was that I could have opted for just going to sleep and not doing anything that day, but I believe humans opt to create even when it's not necessary, which I think is really cool and I think is really inspiring, and I wanted to make a video about it. And I am certainly not depressed. That being said, heavy, busy, intense things have been on my mind lately, and not in an overwhelming way. I'm perfectly content with those things being in my mind, but they have been on my mind, and I don't want to hide that. I learned an important lesson from Zay Frank when I was probably 12 years old, and I'll play a clip of the video that I'm talking about right now.
Turn and look at the camera. Don't bite me. Good morning, sports racers.
Giant kitty. I don't feel like being silly today, so I won't. If you want silly, I gave you some links in the sidebar. Something from the forum.
That's it. That's the whole clip. I don't feel like being silly today, so I won't. Sometimes on Sam and Meshach, I don't feel like being silly, and so I don't. When you come here, you're getting as close to an authentic me as I can represent, or at least that's what I'm going for. So to answer the question of some people who were concerned, first of all, I appreciate your concern. But no, I am not depressed. I'm not close to depressed. I am feeling perfectly good and fine. I'm just creating content that speaks to my thoughts and experience at the time of their making. I will link to that Zay Frank video in the description down below. He is an idol of mine, and for great reason. In that video, gosh, I'm talking about how I'm talking about heavy subjects. In that video, he discusses 9/11 and where he was when he found out, and kind of the short aftermath of it. And he just speaks so beautifully, and speaks about unity. It's a great video. You should check it out. In fact, you should check out all of Zay Frank's videos. Interesting and completely tangential story about Zay Frank and myself. We've had one online social interaction, and it came 6 days after the creation of this channel. And if I recall correctly, I've actually never talked about this story because obviously there were bigger things to talk about regarding January 6th when this channel first started. Crazy things were going down, obviously, and there were all those horrible images of the Capitol building on the news, and Zay, like the rest of the world and the rest of the nation, was watching, and I was following along on his tweets, which was new for me because I'm almost never on Twitter. And these days I'm never on Twitter. But I was curious what he had to say during all these times because he's been commenting on, politics and society for a long time. So anyway, I checked out his page. And he was kind of like live tweeting the whole thing and reposting other people. And, he's always been a little bit more radical than I've been politically. But that didn't bother me. Like, I think at my heart, I agree with a lot of the sentiments and I, agree with a lot of his messaging, and his heart is in the right place. Until I read one message, which I'm sure that I could find in like an internet archive or something, but I'm not going to try. In the tweet, he says that he was wishing for harm on the souls of the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th and to the people that encouraged them. And I stopped and I reflected and I went back and I watched that video that I just shared with all of you guys. And then I just like opened a tweet and kind of stared at it for 20 minutes or something like that. Just overwhelmed with the day and overwhelmed with the harshness of his tweet. And I eventually decided to reply to him, and I'll put up the tweet on screen now. But essentially I said something like, "Hey Zay, we don't wish ill on people's hearts or souls. We can know that they're misguided and want them to pay for their actions, but you need to be careful with your words and people look up to you." And he replied, I'll put up his reply as well. He said something to the effect of, "You're right, thank you, I want to be better," or something like that. And then a short while after, he made like one or two more tweets, but he stopped for the day. I went back later to kind of like recount the interaction, and he had deleted the initial tweet. And that was kind of like a full circle moment for me. I have learned a tremendous amount from Zay Frank, but in that moment I realized that I had taken those lessons to heart, and they were independent of outside sources. Anyways, that's unrelated. I was just thinking about it today, and I didn't want to be silly today, so I wasn't. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. I don't care about the likes, but I want to interact with the community today. In fact, so much that if you're watching this just as it's coming out, I'm probably also going to be live. So stop by the live stream if you want to. That's all I've got for you. Meshach Schmackers. I will see you next week.